Our last video, SC/ST creamy layer and reservation, received near about 1000 comments. Most of the comments were from those people who oppose reservation. They had trolled this video. They severely criticized it. They blamed well-off SC/ST for snatching rights of poor Dalits and Adivasis. Some criticized it for distorting the thoughts of Dr. Ambedkar, but none of them tried to address some fundamental questions raised in this video. Some basic points raised in our last video. First, if the basis of reservation is protection from discrimination, then has discrimination against the well-off SC/ST stopped? Second, where is the creamy layer when economic surveys and various studies reports show that cream is yet to be formed among SC/ST's people? According to William Darity, the aim of affirmative action is to form creamy layer in the disadvantaged group to balance the elite demography of upper strata of society. Fourth, no one commented on Dr. Ambedkar's argument that adult franchisee would not be sufficient to dislodge the entrenched governing class comprised of higher caste in India. Other means are also required, and reservation is one such mean for strengthening the roots of democracy. Governed class must become governing class. Some people oppose reservation in a very sophisticated way. They argue in 70 years there has been no improvement in the condition of SC/ST people, and thus definitely this policy is not helping them. Hence this policy should be scrapped, and in place of this policy some other policy should be introduced which should be comprehensive enough to target all poor people. In our last video, most of the comments are related to the topic that reservation is helping only the affluent SC/STs and poor Dalits are not benefiting from this policy. Now let us see what the data and research and survey reports available on this subject reveal. In this video, we are discussing mainly 2 points. First, whether reservation is helping SC/STs or not. Second, how true is the perception that only the so-called affluent SC/STs are taking advantage of reservation. Reservation policy in India is applied to 3 fields: education, employment and politics. First, we will discuss reservation in education and whether reservation policy is successful or not. To begin with, we will discuss the reservation in the field of education, and we will assess if reservation in education has benefited the SC/STs or not. For this, the better indicator would be the literacy rate. According to the data from census conducted in 1961, the literacy rate among scheduled caste for both males and females combined was just 10.27%, which rose to 66.10% level by the time of census 2011. Among the ST, the male-female combined literacy rate in 1961 was 8.53%, which increased to 58.96% by 2011. In other words, during 50 years, the literacy rate among the SCs has increased 6-fold, while that for STs it has gone up to 7 times. Since 2011, All India Survey on Higher Education (AISHI) conducted a survey of higher education and publishes a report every year. According to their report, the gross enrollment ratio of SCs, both males and females include, the higher education in 2011 was 13.5%, which increased to 19.9% in 2016. While in case of STs, the gross enrollment ratio, both males and females together, increased from 11.2% in 2011 to 14.2% in 2016. The table in front of you gives gross enrollment ratio for SC/ST in higher education according to AISHI reports. This another table in front of you shows AISHI report on representation of students belonging to all categories. From this report, we can see that all the SC/ST students pursuing higher education are able to do so only because of reservation policy. By 2018, the representation of SC students was 14.41% and the representation of ST students was 5.22%. though this is lower than the reserve quota, which is 15% for SCs and 7% for STs. The effect of policy of reservation in the field of education can be correctly judged based on the benefits derived by SC category students to the scheme of postgraduate scholarship. In the first year plan, 37,077 SC students and 8,494 ST students availed the postgraduate scholarships. These figures rose to 21 lakh SC students and 5.31 lakh ST students by 9th 5-year plan. These statistics clearly indicate that the SC/ST category students have greatly benefited from the policy of reservation in the field of education. Let us now turn to assessing the effect of reservation in the field of employment. The DOPT report in front of you shows that from the time of reservation was introduced in India, there has been increase in participation of people from SC/ST communities. This table shows that in 2003-2004, the representation of SC in central public sector enterprises was 14.6%, which increased to 18.14% in 2013 and 14. If the available statistics clearly show that SC/ST community has largely benefited, then why there is a feeling that this policy has not been sufficiently effective in the SC/ST communities? The general contention is that the policy of reservation has not been successful in solving the problems of SC/STs and has largely been ineffective. Thus, an alternative policy for the poor must be introduced. Dr. Sukhdev Thorat has extensively analyzed these contentions based on NSSO data in his article Prejudiced Against Reservation Policy, How and Why, published in Economic and Political Weekly. Strongly refuting this contention, Dr. Thorat argues that there may have been few failings, shortcomings of the reservation policy, but there have been a lot more positive impact which need to be correctly identified. Certain conclusions drawn by Dr. Sukhdev Thorat from the central government data from the NSSO employment survey data are as follows. He has analyzed NSSO data for 2012, which included employment in central government, PSU and nationalized banks. In 2012, there were 9 lakh SC employees in central public services, which accounted for 20% of all employees. According to NSSO data, of the 154.1 lakh permanent employees in 2012, there were 25.86 lakh SC employees. The percentage of the permanent SC employees was 17% of all employees. From this, it can be concluded that the policy of reservation in employment has been successful and the representation of SC in government services is in fact proportionate to their population. This is certainly a positive impact of the policy. If outwardly it appears that the reservation policy has not adequately benefited SC/ST categories, or that there have been limited effect, then there are two main reasons behind this. First, private sector jobs being out of reservations coverage. Second, certain government jobs are contractual and temporary jobs being outside the reservation policy. Because of these two reasons, the policy of reservation in employment gets limited to a small area of permanent government employment only. This table shows the data on SC workers employed in non-farm regular salaried job. The data reveals that total government SC employees, including both permanent and non-permanent, were 45.41 lakh. Of this, permanent government SC employees were 25.86 lakh. The total non-farm employees, including both permanent and non-permanent government and private, were 139.7 lakh. This clearly indicates that percentage of SC employee in permanent government jobs were 18.5% of total SC employees, which does indicate success of reservation policy. If we consider the total workforce of SC workers, including government, private, permanent, temporary, farm workers and non-farm workers, then the total SC workforce amount to 9 crores. Of this, the total workforce employed in non-farm jobs is 1.39 crore. Take the percentage of permanent government employees. to the entire SC workforce of 9 crores, then we find that only 2.9% or 3% are in permanent government service, which are covered by the policy of reservation. This figure of 3% reveals that the policy of reservation has a very limited coverage as far as the government employment is concerned. This in turn creates an impression that the policy of reservation has not been very effective. Dr. Thorat in his article writes that to correctly assess the benefits of job reservation to the poor among the SC/STs, or whether it has largely beneficial or limited in its benefits or not beneficial at all, we must analyze 3 indicators based on the data available. This analysis of Dr. Thorat deserves serious consideration, which goes on to prove that policy of reservation in employment has benefited the poor among the SC/STs to a great extent. The first indicator is the employment data in central public services, especially in grade C and D. This has been taken as an indicator because of those SCs joining in C and D grades largely belong to economically weaker backgrounds. In 2011, the total jobs in C and D grades, the scheduled caste employees in grades C and D together were 81%, while in A and B grades together the SCs were 19% of total jobs available in these grades. This clearly shows that the poor among the SCs have availed the benefits of opportunity under the policy of reservation in employment to a great extent. The second indicator related to level of education. This indicator brings out the causative linkage with affordability of education or the economic status of employees. According to 2011-12 NSSO report, there are 26 lakh permanent SC employees, of which about 68% are graduated below secondary or higher secondary levels or below diploma level, and 32% have education level of graduate and above. From this, it can be concluded that 3/5 of the SC reservation beneficiaries have education level below or up to higher secondary. These SC employees normally belong to economically weaker sections among the SCs. The third indicator is about the land ownership status of SC employees in government service. The table reveals that all the government employees who have acquired education up to the graduate level or above possesses less than 1.23 acre of land. This fact clearly indicated that their asset ownership is meager and they belong to an economically weak background. In fact, if you consider different levels of education, then 76% to 89% SC government employees own less than 1.23 acre of land, which implies that the poor SC, irrespective of their education level, have greatly benefited from the policy of reservation. Mark Galanter in his book Competing Equalities, which is one of the most comprehensive writings on the subject of reservation, writes that it cannot be denied that there has been a wide redistributive effect of compensatory discrimination policies. This policy has added momentum to the process of formation of middle class in these groups. The urban educated belonging to these groups are largely in government services. This policy has been instrumental in bringing members of these groups into such important roles in the society, which was impossible to imagine decades ago. This has been possible due to opportunities for education and employment. A class has been created which has already availed of the employment opportunities and now are facilitating benefits to their children. He further argues their concerns are firmly placed on the political agenda and cannot easily be dislodged. After the implementation of the Mandal Commission recommendations, may be to counteract the scope of reservation policy or to render it ineffective, the jobs in government and public under the coverage of reservation policies are being reduced continuously through recourse to LPG policies, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. According to the table on the screen, in 1995 the total employment in central jobs was 39 lakhs, which reduced to the level of 32.24 lakhs in 2014. Due to limited coverage of the scope of policy of reservation with respect to employment and continuous In the availability of reserve posts, the effect of reservation policy on the progress of SC/ST categories has not been extensive. The employment levels in public sector have been continuously reducing. In 1990-91, the availability jobs were 71%, which now currently stands 60%, and the reduction continues. In response to a question asked in Parliament, it was stated that between 2013 and 15, in the government ministries and department of central government, there has been 89% reduction in the direct recruitments. In addition, not all government vacancies are being filled up to maintain the fiscal line. The reservation policy has been implemented mechanically and half-heartedly without any concern for the constitutional aims. Jai Bhim.